Hello, welcome to Alchemy YouTube channel. It is a third part of a series called Tamed, a Blackened Slave Man. Let's begin. The Crown Prince and Orion, both of them reached at the prison. Orion asked, "Is this tower the Imperial prison?" He replied, "It seems you have not seen a place like this before. The Imperial prison is located far from the palace." But then the Crown Prince noticed that someone is following them. He asked, "Why are you following us like this?" The knight did not reply anything. However, Orion noticed that his eyes are purple. The knight asked, "Would you like to kindly tell me everything you want to do in this place, madam?" Crown Prince appreciated him by saying, "You are making a great effort, knight." The Crown Prince asked Orion, "Do you know why I asked you to come alone to this place?" "Because your brother's gaze is unusual." Orion was thinking, of course, he's the person who tried to assassinate you, and now his life is in danger because of that. She said, "My little brother, you can be a bit selective, he's quite different." The prince said, "It is not about the gaze he casts on anyone, but the distinctive gaze he casts on you. Because normally that's not the gaze that any person casts on their own sister. And don't you think your bloodline is also a little bit mixed?" Orion was thinking that if this conversation will go any further, then the Crown Prince will become suspicious of Cassidon, so she needs to stop it. She said, "His Majesty, Cassidon is part of my family. He's one of the people I greatly appreciate. If you talk about my only brother in this way, I will feel embarrassed and ashamed." With a smile, the Crown Prince said, "The feelings of affection towards your brother are also exceptional." She replied with a smile, "He is the most precious person to me in this world. I believe you have shown me the way sufficiently." He asked her, "Will you stay alone in this terrible prison?" She replied, "I cannot continue to cause trouble for you. And the Archduke is also in prison because I made him appear suspicious in poisoning your highness. It might be difficult to have a peaceful conversation with him. If your highness is with us in prison." Crown Prince was thinking about it. "And after I thought," he said, "I understand now." He looked at the knight and said, "I'm done here, so stay by the lady's side until she meets the Archduke. And if anything happens to her, it will be entirely your fault. The Archduke is on the 8th floor." He asked the knight rank and name. But Orion interfered them and said, "I will only speak with the Archduke and return immediately. So there is no need to be worried about me?" Crown Prince said, "Do you know I could not properly celebrate my birthday, so I will organize another feast very soon. I will send you an invitation so we will meet again soon. And for your information, you don't have a chance to refuse." He came close to her and said, "Until then I will cherish the flower you gave me in the garden." And then the Crown Prince left both of them. She asked the knight, "Cassidon, why are you here?" He said, "Did you know it was me?" She replied, "How could I not recognize you? He have no words to say on this, and how could you steal a royal knight's shield?" He said, "I did not steal it, I merely borrowed it. The owner of this shield will be unconscious all day, so there will not be a problem." She said, "You speak of it as it is a minor matter. But what will you do if you get caught?" He said, "I have great confidence in myself. I have fully grasped the movements and steps of the palace knights." She said, "That's not a problem at all, your luck was good the last time." With a sparkling eyes he came close to her and asked, "Are you worried about me?" She said, "Do you know what's happening, Cassidon? I have not stopped worrying since I woke up in the morning, even before going to bed at night." With a smile he said, "It's nice to hear that you care about me to this extent." She asked him, "Did you come to the palace because you were worried about me?" He was thinking about it, and after some time he said, "Yes, otherwise why should I do something so foolish? Should we continue advancing in this prison?" They both started to move towards 8th floor. Orion was thinking about the stinky smell which was coming from the prison. Cassidon said, "This floor seems like a maze. Escaping from here is completely impossible. The people in charge of distributing food to the prisoners know how to get out. It seems this prison is working well despite the lack of fearful guards." He asked her who comes to visit him in a prison like this. She said, "You will know when you see him." Both of them reached at the 8th floor. Damien was sitting on the chair. He was reading a book in a very elegant way. Orion was remembering the time when she loved his black hair, his emerald eyes. But at that time she did not know what was hiding beneath this beautiful mask. She asked him, "Do you remember me?" Damien replied, "You are Miss Orion, the daughter of Count Serica. I have met you once, but I can remember you. I think I have also seen this guard before." Cassidy moved his head into another direction. Orion said, "He's a royal guard assigned to accompany me here." Damien said, "It seems I mistook him for someone else." He came close to her and asked, "So what brings you here alongside this royal guard? This place is restricted to anyone other than the prisoners here." She said, "His Highness the Prince gave me his permission." He was confused after hearing that, and said, "Did the prince allow you to do that?" She said, "He guided me to the entrance to the tower as well." He asked, "Did His Highness guide you here personally too?" She said, "Yes, he did." Damien was thinking about something and said, "Can I know the reason for your presence here?" She said with a sad voice that, "Archduke, actually I know that you are not guilty. I know that you did not did this." He asked, "Why you are sure I'm not the culprit? And what is the reason that the young lady came to this prison to visit me?" She said, "What do you think is the reason I came here?" Damien said, "At least I don't think you came here to playing with words like this." Orion was thinking that, "I guess I am estimating my usefulness, you arrogant human being, you are just a devil with only a colorful shell." And then she said with her very pretty smile, "The Duke, you are the person I fell in love with at first sight." After hearing this, Damien sarcastically laughed and said, "Let's hear the true reason for which you came to this prison." She asked, "Don't you believe me?" He said, "No one will believe you if he or she is in this situation." She started to cry and said, "Oh my God, I took a risk coming to this prison to see you. How could you do this to me? If I knew I would hear this from the beginning, I would not have come." Damien was confused after seeing her in this state. He asked, "Did you really love me at first sight?" She came close to him and said, "Of course. What kind of crazy person would come to this prison if not for this reason? I did not believe in love at first sight, until when I met you." She said, "I saw your slightly open lips and your blushing cheeks, the dark black hair, and the bright eyes like stars in the sky." Damien was in confused state, and was not able to reply at all. Cassidy was shocked after hearing all of this. She was continuously praising him by saying, "You have such a sharp jawline, calm voice." She was thinking that currently she had to endure embarrassment for her own sake. She said, "Do you know how sad I was when they took you suddenly? Even before we could have a decent conversation." She was thinking that instead of showing him as something small and trivial, it's better to consider herself as a bright and clear woman. She said, "I managed to convince His Highness to come here and meet you, the Archduke. He asked, you must be very close to His Majesty." She was thinking that it seems he's interested in that too. Even in his previous life, the Crown Prince and Damien were never on good terms. Damien intensely tried to get close to him, but the Crown Prince always broke his promise of meeting. In that sense, the Crown Prince's proposal was very unconventional. And it's much better this way, because there will be many limitations on her practical authority beyond the position offered to her. If she agreed to marry the Crown Prince. If the Crown Prince approaches her openly, he will definitely be bossed for her presence. Also because of the Prince's personality, if she suddenly accepts his offer, he will lose all interest he has in her. More than that, it's best to keep our distance, attract his attention and thus reach Damien. She said the Crown Prince even sent a knight from the palace to accompany her here. And if you don't believe me, you can ask His Majesty. If you tell me why you arrived late for the banquet, I will assure His Highness that you are not the culprit. Damien turned around and started to move away from her. He said, "Okay, if that's the case, then let's do this. If you tell me more details about what you do and how you came to know His Highness, I would also inform you about the reason for my late arrival." He said with a smile that he also wanted to know more about her. Orion was thinking that he does not want to lose against her, even if he's on the brink of death. She asked, "Do you want me to talk about His Highness in front of a royal knight? It seems you still don't trust me." With a serious face she said, "I think I should be a fool to fall in love with you." Damien came into little panic after hearing all of this. She said she can't believe she have come all this way just to help the Archduke. "So how can you shatter my pure heart like this? Thanks to you, I can truly see what kind of person the Duke is." Damien ran towards her in a panic state, and said, "My lady, it ended up with me being very rude to the young lady. I will tell you the reason for my late arrival. Just don't leave like this. In fact, I was preparing a special gift for the prince." She said you had plenty of time before the performance to prepare the gift. He said it was a gift that required a lot of preparation, and for that reason I had to take care of it on my own. She asked, "What on earth is the gift?" After a thought, he said, "All right, I will tell you, because I want you to know." And then he said the gift was a slave. He bought him from a distant country because he had exceptional physical abilities. He's a very strong man, and because of that I had to go through tough times to keep him from biting his tongue and dying. She asked, "A slave?" He said, "Miss, I think you misunderstood something. Slaves often have excellent physical abilities, and they are rarely sold at a high price. Just a month ago, there was a real case where a wrestler's slave was sold for billions of gold pieces." Jessica was thinking that it seems he is talking about Cassidon. But no matter how poorly slaves are treated, and how they are not considered humans within the Empire, how could you give something like this to the Crown Prince on his birthday? And this was your excuse to hide your delay due to your heart condition. But if that's the case, we must use this as a reason. With a smile she said, "Well done, Archduke, send this slave with me." He asked, "What do you mean by that?" She said, "Do you know the poison consumed by the Crown Prince is a very deadly poison which only grows in the north? And that was the crucial reason why you ended up in prison." He asked, "What do you mean it was poison from the north?" She said she discovered the poison, and by chance the Archduke arrived late that night. "Somebody told me while we were talking about the Crown Prince. So, that's what it was all about." He said, "There is no doubt I arrived late, but I found it strange that they were so certain I was the culprit." She said, "If you send me the servant, I will tell His Highness everything. And I will be able to prove your innocence. I will show them all the evidence, and they will believe me. And I only said that because I was upset that you did not trust me. It's impossible for me to leave you in this situation, right?" He said, "Well, this is good. I will send it to you. And if I leave from here, I want you to offer me a little of your time, because of eternal love that you claim." With a blushy face she said, "Oh God, are you asking me out on a date?" But inside her head she was thinking that you fell into that trap, Damien. He said with a smile that I will tell you the details of my schedule when I leave this place. So please talk to His Highness. Orion was thinking that he believes it's a good opportunity to gather information about the prince. She said, "Of course, I will look forward to meeting you again." And then Damien said, "I sincerely hope we can spend enjoyable time together soon." Orion was thinking that if that's the case, then I will use all of this against you. Cassidine was looking at her. At night Orion was on her mansion. Sasha entered into the room, and put a paper on the table. Orion asked, "What is this?" She said, "It is related to the kingdom you mentioned that day." In fact, she could not find any information for ages, so she came across an information dealer. Orion was worried about it, and said, "Sasha, it can't be. It's dangerous to walk in those alleys alone." Sasha said there was someone she used to buy some necessity from, and she found what she wanted. Sasha said, "I covered my face when I bought the necessary items. I asked for help from that person. Of course it would be difficult to do something like this alone. So she was thinking of how to make things more efficient by using the jewelry Orion gave to her. She heard that there is someone who knows a lot about the kingdom of Heron there." With a smile Orion said it would be helpful to talk to him, so let's go together to that place tomorrow morning. After some time Orion was opening the windows. And then she noticed that someone came into the room. It was none other than Cassidon. she said. I managed to retrieve in one piece. But Cassidy was looking very serious and sad. She asked Cassidy, "Don't make me worried, what's happening? Did you get caught while returning to the Knight's Shield?" He said no, he didn't get caught. She asked him then, "Can you tell me why you look so upset?" Cassidy asked, "Do you like man with green eyes?" She looked towards him. He asked, "Do you dislike me because I don't have green eyes?" She stood up and said, "Cassidy, of course not. Why would I dislike you because you don't have green eyes?" He asked then, "Why did you say that in front of me earlier? And you said jet black hair and eyes that resemble the star in the sky, a sharp chin and a quiet voice that holds a serene timbre." In an awkward way she was thinking that he memorized it word for word. She said, "Cassidy, I like you more than anybody, so please don't think that. I don't like you because you don't have green eyes." With a smile she said, "Whatever you look like, I will love you the most in the world." In an angry way he threw the cup of tea and asked, "How many men have you fooled? This way?" While saying this he grabbed her. She said, "Cassidy, what are you doing?" He said, "My sister, I asked you a question. How many men have there been before me?" She said, "You are the first one." He was touching her hair. She was thinking that how can he be so strong? "I can't breathe." He said, "Please don't look away from me. You must look into my eyes when you speak to me." She asked, "Why are you doing this?" With a scary smile he was grabbing her neck and said, "Sister, I don't know you were able to make a face like this." She pushed him away. He said, "If someone saw all of this mess, they are going to think like I did something terrible to you, even though I have not done anything to you yet." She said, "I'm ready to endure anything you wish to do to me, since you are my one and only brother. If this makes you feel better, go right ahead. But do you feel better at all? Because I'm certain that you are not that kind of a man." Cassidy said, "You better not anger me any more than you already have." She was thinking that it was such a poor thing. He has become so distrustful of people that anger is the only emotion he knows how to show. And I know that beneath that tough exterior he is tender-hearted. She said, "I am always on your side." He replied, "I don't like you, Orion." She came close to him and grabbed her cheeks. She said, "It's okay even if you don't like me. It's okay if you use me. I just pray that you will stop torturing yourself." After hearing all of this he turned back and started to go away from her. She was thinking that I agree with the Cassidy to a certain extent. After all, I have taken him in as my family in order to use him. But he lied to me too, didn't he? The crown prince of a perished kingdom must have many stories to tell. Yet he refuses to tell me anything about his past. The kingdom of Hiren, a place that was destroyed under the pretense of a prophecy, and Cassidy's homeland. She had no choice but to find out about it herself. On the next day she and Sasha were going to a place. Her maid Sasha said, "Milady, are you sure we will be okay without an escort? Perhaps we should have come with Lord Cassidy. What if something happens to you?" Orion said, "It's not like I'm alone, so I will be fine, you are with me." She was thinking that after all, I am looking into Cassidy's past, so I can't bring along the man himself. Orion said, "More importantly, I don't think you call this a path, Sasha. Are you sure someone really lives in a mountain like this? Perhaps the map is wrong?" In an angry look Sasha said, "If I was given the wrong information, I'm going to break that information broker's third leg, so he can never use it again." Orion said, "Let's just keep going." And then suddenly both of them found a small house. Orion knocked at the door and said hello, but no one replied. Sasha said, "Maybe whoever used to live here moved away. It looks like a haunted house." Orion said, "Let's wait a while longer just in case." But then suddenly an old man opened the door. He said, "What brings you to the humble abode of this old man?" Orion said, "I heard that you know a lot about the kingdom of Hiren. I know we have come uninvited, but I was hoping to find out about how this kingdom perished. So could you tell me your name?" The old man said, "I am called Notius." He said, "I can see that you are receiving God's love. I may be a blind old man, but I can feel God's touch on you, my lady." After listening all of this she was shocked and said, "Could it be that you are the great prophet Notius?" The old man said, "I was called by that nickname once, but now I'm just an old hermit." Orion said, "The world believes that you have passed away." The old man said, "I am paying for my sin of revealing the future and taking away many lives. I am living as quietly as a mouse. But it must be God's will that you found me here. The peaceful kingdom of Hiren perished because of this foolish old man's mistake. Orion said, "May I ask about the content of your prophecy?" He said, "Since you are beloved by God, I'm sure I can tell you," he said, "the greatest overlord in history, who will have all of the kingdoms including the empire, kneel before him, and rule all living things from above shall be born in the kingdom of Hiren." After hearing this, both of them were shocked. She asked, "Is the person in your prophecy still alive?" The old man said yes, he is still alive. But this prophecy is now facing a completely new conjuncture. He said the hook with a broken wing has found the nest it belongs to, and the black crow of arrogance will burn to death, while coveting the hawk's nest. "This is as much as I can tell you," she asked. "Could you tell me the true meaning of this prophecy in detail?" He said, "You already know the answer to that question, milady." After a moment she said, "Then may I ask you one last question?" She asked, "What did you mean that I was beloved by God?" He said, "It's just as it sounds. After all, in this world everything does happen for a reason indeed." After hearing all of this, both of them started to move away from him. Sasha was saying, "I'm disappointed that he is going to find another place to live. I can't believe the person we found was the great prophet Notius. At that time I was so shocked. But of course I could not understand most of the things he said." Orion said, "This is all thanks to you, Sasha. We learned a lot today." In her mind she was thinking, since Deus has already passed away. The black crow Notius mentioned must be Damien. He pretended not to be interested in the throne, yet he destroyed Hiren in order to eliminate the greatest ruler in history. She was thinking that did he really mean to put his son on the throne? If Cassadine finds out that the man who trampled his kingdom is already dead, how will he react? She wondered that after suddenly becoming a slave in the blink of an eye, what allowed him to endure those miserable and horrible years? He must have been his burning rage for revenge. Then if he discovers that the son of the man who destroyed his kingdom is alive, will that make him happy? With a smile she said, "My poor brother, I'm happy." And then she burnt the map, where she found the prophet. She was thinking, the fact that you and I have a common enemy. How could I have received God's love when I have become so twisted? I don't deserve it. In the evening she knocked at the door of Cassadin's room. Cassadin asked, "What brought you to my room?" He was standing behind her, and he said, "Looks like you have some business with me." With a smile she said, "Should I have a specific reason for meeting you?" He said, "This is impossible." He opened the door and said, "Come in. I think it's too cold outside to stay here and talk." With a sharp look he looked towards her and said, "Sister." After entering into the room, he moved his hand towards her neck. But he stopped his hand, and started to play with her hair. He said, "Where are you all the day?" She put his hand on her cheek and said, "If you were curious about it you should have followed me." She said, "You never tell me the truth. What the hell are you afraid of? Are you afraid to tell me who you really are?" She said, "You want me to take you back to this damn wrestling arena? Or maybe I am scared." She grabbed his hand and said, "Cassadin, how good would that be if I could make you feel better?" Suddenly she put his hand on her neck and said, "You can strangle me with more force. Do it as often as you like." In a shocking way he was looking towards her. She said, "As much as you don't trust me you can strangle me." He removed his hand from her neck. He shouts, "Are not you afraid of death? Or maybe you are crazy?" He asked, "Why do you show up?" And then suddenly he grabbed her in his arm and apologized to her. He said, "All of this was my fault. I will not do this again. So please forgive me." After hearing this she started to cry and, in her mind she was thinking, my cute little brother Cassadine had never asked me for anything before. She thought she cried all the tears she had in her past life. She said, "I love you, Cassadine." And then at the night Cassadine was staring at his hand and thinking that I'm tired. I have not slept since last night because I could not get her out of my head. Although I knew Orion would leave in the morning, I stayed here on purpose. It was upsetting to see that, but I thought it would be best not to keep seeing her. However, it was even more upsetting that she was not here with me. He was thinking that why the hell I went to that mansion. Because I wanted information. But why did I feel the world collapsing around me when I heard that she had fallen in love at first sight with the Archduke? He was remembering a moment when she put his hand on her neck and said, "How good it would be if I could make you feel better." He was thinking that at that moment, what he felt from her was fear. perhaps deep inside sadness, and somehow it drove him crazy. But what's even crazier is that he knows he's falling too deep, so I can't let it go because I think if I do it may disappear like the brightest star that would fly in the midst of a foggy night. After some days, both of them were sitting on the chairs and eating their breakfast. Orion was looking towards him and thinking that Cassidon has been kinder since that day. He does not feel the need to lie, and he doesn't visit her room every night. She was thinking that maybe she went too far. She do not regret taking the risk. She understands if he does not trust her very much, but she wanted to see him with Kenny's mom. She really did not intend to die. Cassidon has spent more time observing what I do. She asked what's the problem. With a smiley face he was looking towards her and said, it's not a big deal. After some time she was reading a newspaper, and in the newspaper she read about the judge of a royal family. Sasha said once released the Archduke submitted a lawsuit for defamation without clear evidence. After hearing this, Orion was thinking that he is such a weak person. She put the newspaper on the table, and thought it did not matter if Damien won the trial. The people who have the most to lose are the most miserable, they think. She thought she could finally rest in peace, but it would take to meet face to face soon. She was thinking that when I meet him, I'm sure he will recognize me right away. She looked outside of the window and asked, why is there so much noise outside? But then suddenly someone opened the door and said, Madam, someone sent you a gift. She asked, what gift? The maid said, I know who sent it, but they said you will know right away that it is slave. After hearing this she was thinking that looks like Damien's waist has just arrived. She go outside to see the slave and found that he was all dirty and wearing torn clothes. After seeing him she covered her nose and started to think, was he really going to give this slave to the crown prince as a birthday present? One of the person who came here with him said that the slave is so violent that it is difficult to deal with him. I wonder if it will be okay with him. Orion said it doesn't matter, please get him off the card. One of the men said the Archduke asked us to deliver a message with the slave. He said he wants to meet you as soon as possible. He put down something and said the Archduke sends this to. They are sedatives. They turn any wild beast into a docile worm. Of course it doesn't have any effect on his body, so you don't have to worry. And in just an instant they would calm his fierce temper. In a fiery way she was looking at the sedatives. The person said, if you are satisfied with these medicine, do not hesitate to visit His Excellency's residence to obtain more. And then all of that man leave the mansion. She opened the cage of that slave and started to look towards him. She thought that they drugged him. But then suddenly Cassidon came towards her and in her ear, he said, sister. She said, Cassidon, you scared me. Can you move around and make some noise? He said, I can't do that. I would not be able to see the expression of surprise on your face when you get scared. With a serious look he looked towards the cage and asked, is this the slave? She said, yes, this is correct. She was thinking that Damien is such a bad guy that she struggled to stop him from biting his tongue to that. She was thinking that how painful was the slave life for making such an extreme decision. Just looking at those needles and the cage he's locked up in, she feel it must have been horrible. Cassidon asked, what are you going to do with it? She said, it is a gift, so you need to clean him and change his clothes. Cassidon called 3 powerful people to clean it up. And Orion said, make sure you give him something to eat and give him a bedroom. The person said, yes miss, we will do this right away. She was looking at Cassidon and thought, perhaps he is afraid that someone else will take his place. She put her hand on his back and said, you are the only brother I have, so don't make such an expression. He said, yes, I understand. At the Empire someone said, Leon, have you really lost your mind? Did you lose it completely? Leon said, stop screaming, my ear is hurting. The king said people will think that the place of the crown princess could be anyone. Do you think that's why I introduce you to Miss Orion? With a smile he said, your majesty, you know what? Miss Orion refused to take the position of crown princess. She's a really funny woman, isn't she? If she had accepted the offer quickly, my interest in her would have completely disappeared. He came close to the king and said, my imperial palace in ruins after the assassination attempt. In addition, Archduke Damien failed a lawsuit against us, so your majesty is very wise. and yet you made the mistake of not being able to find the real culprit. So for this reason the royal family has become a mockery of everyone. So what would I really care about? After hearing this, his father grabbed his clothes and said, "How dare you, Leon?" The prince said, "Your Highness, what would you do if someone saw you like that?" In an anger the king said, "The crown prince of this empire would say something like that." "I have prepared the throne for you," the prince said, "by saying that make you feel less guilty about what happened to my late mother." He said, "I never wanted this. I never wanted any position, not a crown prince nor your love." After hearing this the king was trembling, and he removed his hand from the prince. The prince started to move away and said, "I don't want you to contact me for any other matter, so I will leave now." After some time he was laying on his bed, and looking towards the flower which was treated by Orion. With a smiley face he was saying her name. On the other side Orion was confused. Her servant said, "Miss, we simply cannot take any measures against this servant. What should I do?" Orion said, "That's right. There could not be any clothes that fit him in this place either. She thought that this room is so small it looks like a mess. His body is almost perfect, like the perfect combination of a bear and a black panther." Damien did not intend to give this slave to the crown prince without any reason. Someone said, "We should order some clothes. What should you do if he stayed in this state, and in this place?" Another maid apologized to her. Orion said, "It doesn't matter. I watch it by myself." She asked, "What is your name?" But the slave did not reply to her. One of the servants said, "Why don't you say anything?" Orion said, "It's okay, you must be tired." "You don't have to tell me now," the servant said, "but miss, this food is so precious, even the clothes you want to give him. You honor this servant too much." But Orion looked towards the servant. After the look the servant apologized to her. Orion said, "There is no problem with that, so leave this place." She said to the slave that you must be tired after a long journey, so you can eat as much as you want. I will prepare more food if that is not enough. Still he did not reply to anything. She said, "Don't worry about what others said earlier. It's okay to eat comfortably." But he again did not reply. She said, "Does this food not satisfy you? You must be thirsty because it's so hot outside." But still there is not a single reply. She was thinking that Damien would not have sent such a disobedient slave to the crown prince. "It cannot be," she said. "Can you move that couch over here?" After hearing this command, he stood up and grabbed the couch in his hand. She was thinking that it takes 3 servants to lift this thing, and he did this alone. He doesn't eat, he does not talk. He just follows order. He is such a creepy. It's like a person who is born only for physical labor. She touched his body and thought that he also has some strange wounds. Some look like bites, but if you check them out on books, they don't look like they were made by humans or animals. She used her holy magic, and thought that his heart rate is irregular due to the sedative. It just increases his energy without any additional supplementation. But on the contrary, the inside of his body was completely destroyed. She checked his mouth, and she was shocked. She found that this slave don't have tongue. In a shocking way she was thinking that who cut it? That's all for today's video. If you want to know what happened next, then like and subscribe. Alchemy Animation YouTube channel.